Good evening. It is an honor to be among those asked to talk about Girish as I knew him. I had read Girish Karnad's play Tughlaq in the Urdu translation when I was a student at the NSD 1970. I had no idea it was originally written in Kannada. I thought it must have been written in Urdu by some poetic looking gent wearing a Lucknowi kurta, grey beard, long hair, topi, maybe horn-rimmed spectacles, spouting poetry somewhere. That's how I visualized the writer of that play. So it was a bit of a surprise when I actually set eyes on him for the first time. And that was in the Rivoli Theatre in Delhi, and he was not in the audience, he was on the screen. He was doing a commercial for some Raymond's suitings or some such product, and he confessed to me later that that was one of his youthful indiscretions. He didn't confide much about the others. As he appeared, my girlfriend, who I was sitting next to, let go of my hand and started gasping and said, "Oh, Girish Karnad, what a gorgeous looking man." And I looked up and I saw this person looking rather uncomfortable in a suit, dark suit, tie. Never seen Girish dressed like that after that, ever again. His terrible worm-like moustache stuck on his upper lip and trying very hard to do the cool act, which I myself have failed at several times in the subsequent years. And I said to myself, hey, this is the guy who wrote Tughlaq. Something wrong here. Later, of course, I discovered a little about Girish, and then I heard him speak one day at a seminar at the drama school. The black suit and the tie which seemed to be choking him was gone, replaced by a magnificent maroon kurta, luxuriant beard, curly hair, and this voice which boomed across the room and yet was very gentle at the same time. The clarity of his thoughts, his articulate nature, the originality of his ideas, and the precision with which he put them across, it had us all mesmerized. Though there were several other celebrities in that room on that day, and it was only after that, several years later, I realized that with those eyes and with that voice, if Girish had ever wanted to be a godman, he would have given Rajneesh a run for his money. Maybe he should have tried it while he was at the Film Institute, instead of fighting with the acting students. Then he came to take over as director of the FTI and charmed us all by saying that he wanted to come here as a student, but fate had other plans. The 2 years at the Institute, I had very little to do with him because he never bothered his head with the acting department, which was a pity, but that's another story. And then there was the end of my 2-year study, which ended in a great deal of unpleasantness. There was a strike by the actors over something we believed was a matter of belief, a matter of ideology, and he thought was the biggest nonsense he'd ever heard. Matter was never resolved, but a lot of unpleasantness occurred, and I said terrible things to him and about him that time, which luckily he did not hold against me. When someone of Girish's stature expires, there's a great deal of curiosity in certain sections of the press to uncover what the people who knew the deceased feel about it. And if you don't provide them with a platitude or two, they'll help you out and invent one themselves and put it in your mouth. So I have, knowing how Girish loathed sentimental cliches, I have desisted from saying anything about him to the press. But also because I find it hard to define what I feel. I think any of us finds it hard to define what we feel at any given time. and to try and analyze what I felt about Girish when he was alive, what I feel about him now that he's left us, I don't think I can do that, or it would take too long. Tom Stoppard, in one of his plays, has described death brilliantly. He says that an actor cannot act death. You cannot act death. Death is not gasping and moaning and falling about. Death is an absence. The man fails to turn up. I think everyone whose lives were touched by Girish will feel his absence for a very long time to come. As for me, I cannot say, even though he has left a Girish-sized hole in our lives, I cannot say that I will miss him, because I didn't see him all that often. I can't say we were friends. He was too much of a giant for me to ever dare to try and befriend. I can't say I loved him deeply. I was content to just gape in awe and admiration and envy, particularly at the way he could turn on the girls. And his giant intellect made me always feel like a challenged 10-year-old child. I can't say that I've learnt much from him, because, as I said, he had nothing to do with the actors, and I only acted in one of his films. But what I did glean is three qualities which I think are more important. And these are the qualities of kindness, generosity, and courage. The way I saw him caring for his parents when he was director of the FTII, the way he would look after them, the way he cared for penniless students like Om and myself. We were no one to him. But his constant encouragement, his constantly trying to boost our morale, often even helping out monetarily, and then helping us both start our careers, is not a debt that life gave either Om or me a chance to repay. And as for courage, the last few years of his life, apart from the fact that he did with the rest of his life whatever he could, right up to the point when he could no longer. That is the biggest lesson of all. To do with your life whatever you can. What Girish did was more than what 10 people achieved with their lives. But the way he continued fighting for his convictions, the way he continued fearlessly expressing his beliefs, the way he continued battling with the debilitating illness that finally took him away, is one of the more inspiring things I've ever heard. I finally understood what it means to not go gentle into the night, but to rage against the dying of the light. If it is indeed true that every believer who goes to heaven is rewarded with 49 virgins, then I assume there would have been a logjam of virgins the day Girish arrived there. Or maybe every virgin would demand 49 Girish Karnads, which would have been a tall order even for the Almighty to fulfill. 49 Girish Karnads. No, we had one. We had him. We had the only one, the real one.